But it starts with really getting crystal clear about your self-image. Okay. And that self-image is your identity, who you know yourself to be. In this episode of the Unstoppable Woman podcast, I want to talk about making an income breakthrough. What does that mean? How do you do it? Why is it important? Is it for you? All of that stuff. And I thought I would do this in the context of my own story of how I did it, plus from the context of how I've helped other people do similar things. We're not going to cover every aspect of it today in this podcast. There's a lot to it, but I am going to cover the 3 fundamental ways to make more money in a lot more detail and just touch on the other things that are super important. And we'll do other podcast episodes on those other things. So thanks for listening. And thanks for being a loyal listener. If you have been listening for a long time, thank you for listening. Thank you for the reviews on iTunes. If you haven't done that already, we would be grateful for that. It helps us reach more people and give us credibility and all that good stuff. And if you share it with your friends, love that too. So thanks for being a loyal listener. We love that and super duper appreciate it. And when I say we, I mean me and my whole team who is involved in getting this podcast out in the world. So one of the things that sparked this topic was a little while ago, we did a micro series, a little short targeted training in our Be Unstoppable Facebook group on how to make an income breakthrough. And then we shared with people, and this is on our free stuff page already, the Income Breakthrough Jumpstart series, which is a series of videos. So if you like this topic and want to go deeper in it with some short targeted things that you can listen to, those are things that you can access. I think that in the Facebook group, even though that was a while ago, you could probably scroll through the feed and find that. And the Income Breakthrough Jumpstart series is on our free stuff page, which is theunstoppablewoman.com/free stuff. And you'll find the link to the Facebook group there if you like playing on Facebook. So check that out. Okay. So there are 3 fundamental ways to make more money in business. You raise your prices, you sell more of what you're already selling, so quantity, and you add a channel of income. Those are the 3 ways. Everything goes into those 3 categories without exception. And if you really look at it, that's how you grow a business. So it's mathematically easy. It's structurally easy to do these things. And I'll talk to you about how I did them in a moment. I'll show you what I did in each category, each of these 3 categories, because I actually did all 3, though they had different impacts in my quantum leap. So let's talk about that quantum leap. In just a moment, I'm going to share that story, but I want to close the loop on what I was just saying. There's only these 3 ways. So it's mathematically easy. It's structurally easy to make more money in business. And if you've heard that expression, I keep getting in my own way, I keep self-sabotaging, that is what's keeping you from being someone who does this as well. Okay? Because yes, you need to get out of ignorance and learn how to do these things. But what's stopping you from actually going after learning how to do this, figuring out the tactical ways and the mindset ways to do this? That is all you getting in your own way. I know I was. So you have, to some degree, in another degree, in another perspective, I was going like gangbusters already. So you have to self-assess and you have to be honest. Like, these are the areas where I'm actually not going after what I want. And these are the areas where I am in growth and going after what I want. And if you're someone who's listening to this podcast, you obviously really appreciate and value learning and growth and growing your perspective. That's enormous. How can you do more of that? How can you step into more of that? I know for me, one of the things that I had as a value was learning, growth around my knowledge and what I knew in this world. But I didn't have the right knowledge. So I was growing in lots of ways that were seemingly important on the surface, but weren't the things that were going to actually help me move the needle in my business. So we're going to talk about some of those as well. Okay. So what were the other ways besides these 3 ways to make more money that were part of the picture? I want to touch on those just a little bit. And I've touched on them in different episodes of this podcast. So go back and listen to those. And we'll do more of that going forward as well. So fundamentally, self-image and identity were huge. I had to start seeing myself as someone who could actually make a quantum leap. Oh, you guys, I forgot to tell you what my quantum leap was and tell you my story. Let's circle back. Okay, little loopy here, guys. Some of you have heard this, but if you're new to the podcast, you may not have heard this already. So my first year in this business, I had a different business in the past in a different industry completely. My first year in this business, I made $30K. And it was really probably 6, 8, 9 months of business, not a full year. So I was very proud of that. I went from 0 to 30K. Then the second year in business, I tripled that. I went to 90K. Okay, so that was already a quantum leap because most people don't triple their income in one level. I was proud of myself. I was going for crossing the 6-figure mark and I didn't quite make it. So I had a little want around that. However, I was happy to say that not making it was very motivating at the same time. I really changed my perspective and said, I can do this. I'm going after it. It was motivating for me. And that third year, I went from 90K to 138. So what is that? That's roughly a 50K increase, which is not too shabby. Pretty significant there as well. So I was already doing something right. I was what I call an unconscious competent. I learned that from my mentor, that you can be doing the right things, but not know that you're doing the right things. And that was the challenge for me. I didn't have a structure for what I was doing right. So I was doing all the things and it was burning me out. I didn't know which aspect of what I was doing was actually moving the needle in my business and causing these increases. So I was just doing everything. And the next year, so year 4 in business, I went from 138 to 700K. That was my big freaking quantum leap. That was 5 timesing my income. If you do the math on that, I 5 times my income in 1 year. And that was just tremendous. And I was incredibly grateful. And I did a huge amount of hard work that year, but I was very focused and I learned how to do it in a way that really moved the needle. And subsequent to that, we've crossed the 7-figure mark, and we keep growing and we keep helping more people. And the team has grown, improved. We have more fun. It's more delightful on so many levels, not just on the financial level, but let's not undermine the value and significance of the financial side of things. You may not have a goal of making 7 figures, but I bet you do have an income goal for yourself that would be amazing for you to make. That would be just like, oh my God, I freaking did it. That's amazing. And what it would allow for you in your life. It's allowed for me to step into my true freedom in this lifetime. Are there things I can't buy right now? Of course. I'm not at the stage where I can buy a jet. Okay. Like I'm not a freaking billionaire. But right now, that's not a thing that I desire. I know that what I desire to purchase right now in my life, I can go and do. And even if I don't have the money for it right now, I know how to create the money. And this is freedom. You'll never feel like you're in scarcity again. You'll never feel trapped again if you really master this. So I hope you get a ton out of this. So all the things that went into this, and there's probably more than this list, but I would like to share this list with you. One, I had to raise my self-worth. I had to start seeing myself as deserving and worthy of more. And I've talked a lot about that. Please listen back to the other podcast episodes. Come to one of our summits. Pay attention to this when I speak about it. It needs to happen on so many different levels. And if you do not see yourself as worthy of more, you will not be able to receive more. So it's super important. And this is synced up with self-image. You have to see yourself as a woman who is capable. You need to see yourself as a woman who is deserving. You need to see yourself as someone who can grow their business in a short period of time. You first see yourself and have that self-image, and then you start acting like that person, and then you are that person. It happens in this 3D world. But it starts with really getting crystal clear about your self-image. Okay. And that self-image is your identity, who you know yourself to be. Okay. I started working with a really high-end mentor who helped me understand what was possible for me and what I needed to do. I started learning the laws, the universal natural laws of success. These are the laws that govern how this universe works, and they govern how you can be successful in this lifetime. And success for me is defined by the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. The progressive realization of a worthy ideal. I got that from Earl Nightingale. Listen to The Strangest Secret over and over again. That's a great little recording. I bet you can find that on YouTube. Maybe I'll do a podcast episode on it. That would be kind of fun. So I learned the universal laws and I started to apply them. I needed to understand them initially. I needed to study them. And then I needed to hold myself to a higher standard to apply them. I needed to raise my vibration. And there's so many different ways to do that. I'm going to give you 2. And I don't mean raise your vibration and hey lady, just raise your vibration. It's not a flip kind of thing. I had to actually do a lot of mental work on raising my level of awareness and working from a high level of awareness in order to raise my vibration. And I also needed to change my environment, who I was hanging out with. Were they high vibration people, meaning people who were working at a high level, or people who were saying, I can't, it's not for me. I can't do that now. I don't have the time for that. Maybe if this happened. No, I wanted to be around people who were saying yes, who were moving forward even in the face of fear, who were being courageous in this life. So I had to put myself into environments that did that. And that required stepping into masterminds, that required going to seminars. I needed to change who I was hanging out with because my home environment, meaning my local friends and family, were not working from that level of awareness and from that perspective. I needed to be around growth-minded people. And I also needed to change my physical environment. That started with me up-leveling my home. And then it started, which was really important. I did things like get new furniture, get new windows, all sorts of things, new paint jobs. And I made some mistakes around that too. I remember hiring a painter and going with the middle price person instead of the person I knew was going to do the best job and was more expensive. I went with, I have to admit, my then husband had some scarcity thinking or just didn't think it was worth it to do it at that level. And I agreed. I made the choice to agree with that, even though I knew in my heart of hearts that that was not the right decision. So there were some stumbles and challenges around that, but I consistently upgraded my environment, including moving and to new places. And I moved into a great apartment and I furnished it in just the way I wanted to at this next level. And then I moved into another apartment that was like, had these really sexy views from it. And then I again spent the next 2 years at an even nicer place. And then I bought the most amazing, gorgeous home that I'm living in currently. So I continue to upgrade my environment. It's not something that I think of as one and done, because it impacts your self-worth. It impacts your vibration. And I now know how important that is to actually taking action at the next level, the highest level. Okay. With that as the framework, I want to go back to the topic of these 3 ways to make more money in your business. Raising your prices, selling more. I call it selling more widgets, right? I don't care if it's a product or a service, you can sell more of it, or adding a new channel of income. And that can be a new product or service offering that is really dialed in within your business, or something that is tangential or adjacent to your current business. Okay, so the first thing that you need to know before you step into choosing which of these 3 ways you're going to use is, how much do you want to be making? What is an income breakthrough for you? If you gloss over this, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You have to get clear. What's the number that drops in for you? What is that? What do you really want? Really, what do you really want? Do you know what that number is? Write it down right now. And then if a number dropped in and then you start second guessing yourself, stop that. Don't make it small. So many people make it small. They go, oh, that's not reasonable. That's not practical. I could never do that. And they lowered their number to a practical, reasonable number. And then they're not actually excited about it. It's not so exciting that it's worth moving mountains to go execute on it, to go create it, to go manifest it. So you have to go for something that's really big, a stretch goal and exciting for you that kind of scares the pants off of you. Actually does scare the pants off of you. If you're not afraid, if you're super like, oh yeah, I can do that, no big deal. If you're not challenged, you're not thinking big enough. Period, full stop. Okay? So you have to claim something really big. Then we're going to break it down. You have to do the math on it, all of that stuff, so that there's a reasonable thing that you actually believe that you can achieve. And we're going to execute on that. Okay. So then you're going to look at which of the 3 ways you want to use to close the gap and make that large income goal a reality for yourself. And in order to do this, you have to get quiet. You have to step out of that mental confusion, that mental spin, and drop in. Okay? You need to really listen to your intuition and everything that you are naturally responding to. Okay? We can work out the plan for it afterwards, but you have to tap into your intuition. And if you don't know how to do that, then keep listening to this podcast. We'll probably add something like that in the future. It is a practice. Getting into a habit of getting quiet every day is very important so that you can recognize what your intuition is saying to you. Okay. For me, I used all 3 aspects of this to raise my income. I raised my prices. Now, mathematically, it's very easy to raise your prices. I went from $10,000 to $15,000, product service offering. Now, we had things that were less expensive than that at a lower investment level. And we had things at the time, though, we didn't have anything that was more of an investment level. And I tripled my investment level for that top tier investment. And I actually changed the configuration of what I was doing. So you could say that that was both raising my prices and adding a new channel of income. Though that's a stretch to say that it was a new channel. I just really kind of changed up service offering. And that was the biggest, most fundamental thing that I did. Now, most people have a hard time actually stepping into raising their prices, whether you're going from $200 to $300 or, something that is $100K to $200K or $100K to $500K. Most people have a hard time holding that shift, holding that jump. And it's because they haven't learned how to work with their identity yet, their self-image piece. When they think about going from $200 to $300 for whatever they're doing, they're like, who's going to pay that? Who am I to charge that? Right? No one is going to pay that. That's I don't deserve this piece. And that's all identity and self-image and self-worth. So you really have to work on those aspects of who you're being. Okay. But raising your prices is one of the key things that you can do at whatever level you're at to increase your income. And it's really not complicated, but it takes some confidence and belief in yourself. Okay. Then the second thing is that you can increase the quantity of what you're selling, sell more. Okay. Now, this is the one that I did the least amount of. I didn't really sell more of what I was doing. Of course, I was increasing my marketing and my lead gen through creating real relationships. Okay. This is something that I really support and guide people in, that in the beginning, and I would say that I was still in the very beginning stages of my business, I based my real leap in income, that income breakthrough, I based that growth on really growing my relationships one-to-one. I did it on social media. I did it at in-person events. And I did it in my daily life when I met people. What I did was I really created strong relationships with people, and I showed up of service, and that was huge. I subsequently have grown the lead gen, grown the marketing, and of course, you want to start that early. However, no one wants to listen to me that how I really grew this was through one-on-one conversations with people, because people tend to be, not everyone, but many people tend to want to avoid those conversations because they're in a fear of rejection. And this fear of rejection makes them want to do marketing funnels that just have people click and buy, which are not something that is horrible and bad, but you do want to be in conversation with people. And especially if you want to sell more quickly up front, building successful online marketing funnels is more challenging than anyone out there who is selling the services of doing that will admit. It takes a lot of testing and tweaking. So do yourself a favor and get over, and I say that in the most loving way, your fear of reaching out to people and having one-on-one conversations with them. Okay. So I had to be willing to put myself out there, and so do you. And this requires that you're willing to make mistakes. And I made 1,001 mistakes. I said the wrong thing all the friggin' time, and I learned from it. And you can too. Okay. You can too. So the third aspect of this is adding new channels of income that are either strictly within your business model already or tangent to it or adjacent to it. And I would say that this was a big factor in me growing and quantum leaping. I added a high-level mastermind as a channel of income in my business. And we're still doing that mastermind. It's evolved and grown over the years. It's called the Spirit of Wealth Mastermind and Masterclass. And I want you guys to know, I didn't know that it was going to work. I didn't have certainty, absolute certainty, but I did believe in myself. And I was already studying the laws, and I already knew that what I could conceive of and believe, I would be able to achieve. I understood the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. I understood how this worked. And so I stepped forward in confidence, even though I didn't know with absolute certainty that it would work. And yet it did. And you will need to step into that level of belief as well. And I would love, let's just say I would love to teach you how to do that. There's lots of ways that you can find how to do that. Please go to our free stuff page. That's an amazing place to get more information and to start. So that's the unstoppablewoman.com/free stuff. And we've got a ton of resources for you there. Okay, with that, please rock it out, be unstoppable, make your income breakthrough happen for yourself, and take action on one of these things that you've heard me share today. Okay, with that, be unstoppable, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Thank you so much for joining us and for being a part of the Unstoppable Woman movement. I want to let you know that we've got a ton of free resources for you for scaling your business at theunstoppablewoman.com/free stuff. Please go ahead and check those out. And we'd also love your help in getting the message out. Share this podcast with all the unstoppable women in your life, your friends, your colleagues, your business besties. Please do that. And if you're game, we'd super duper duper appreciate a review on iTunes as well. Thanks so much, and be unstoppable.